Hello learners, welcome back to the course on learning and development in organization. Today we start a new module where we'll be looking into something which is very interesting. We'll look into problem solving. Many organizations actually take people for problem solving, and many a times people get fired because they are unable to solve the problems of the organization. So when you are looking into problem solving, problem identification and solution design is directly related to learning and development. When you are looking into the organization, you get into the organization with certain level of understanding of the organization, some level of qualifications, you have the knowledge required, you have the basic understanding of what is the product that the organization is making or what process industry the organization is into. All these aspects you know, but over the time you learn with experience, and you tend to solve problems on a day-to-day basis. So when you are looking into problem identification and solution design, it is all a part of learning and development. We'll start today with understanding the process, theory to application in terms of problem identification and solution design. I am Dr. Cyril. I am an assistant professor at the School of Business, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. Today we'll look into the entire topic in the background of this theme. Continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. Now, many a time we tend to corroborate or relate this continuous improvement with the Japanese culture, the Japanese tradition of what they call it as Kaizen, continuous improvement. So it is always better than a delayed perfection. So there might be some perfectionist within you. There might be some individuals who will only do things when the right time comes, when the right attitude is there, or let's say when the right environment is there, conducive environment is there. But many a time when you look into the problem, to solve it and to come out with a design should happen instantaneously. Let's understand this in a deeper fashion. Let's look into the theory to application point of view. Let's understand L&D from this aspect. Understanding how theory translates into practice is typically the foundational aspects for building effective learning and development. So L&D is not just about delivering training, it is all about cultivating environments where continuous learning is embedded into the culture, aligned with strategic objectives and responsive to the evolving needs of individuals and organization. So when you look into this particular theory to application part, this introduction, it explores the central role of learning theories in shaping successful L&D initiatives and how they actually translate into practical high impact applications across the different sectors. Why learning and development matters, why the learning theory actually matters in organization. Let's have a quick look into that. Learning theories are more than academic frameworks. Many a time we have a misconception that, the moment theory comes into picture, it is all about, some conceptual framework or some academic frameworks. Learning theories, they offer a lens through which organizations can understand how people absorb, retain and apply new knowledge and skills. So by anchoring L&D practices and establishing theories, organizations increase the effectiveness, its relevance and sustainability of the learning interventions that are happening. So theoretical foundation, if you ask me, enables the L&D professionals to diagnose the learning needs accurately based on cognitive, behavioral and social factors, and typically also to design impactful programs that resonate with different learning styles and context. When you are looking into a theoretical foundation, it also enables L&D professionals to measure the learning outcomes using scientifically grounded criteria. So anything which cannot be measured cannot be improved. Please look at it from that perspective. When you are looking into, let's say, the theoretical foundation, it fosters cultures of continuous learning and organizational improvement. So, these theories help ensure that learning initiatives are not one-off events, but part of a continuous cycle of development and typically the performance enhancement. So, let us start with some of the key learning theories and their application in organization. We will start with the most important and one of the finest aspects, which is known as behaviorism. Many of you might know behavioral theories, but I will try to emphasize it on a very subtle note, because this is something which acts as a building block to the entire coming theories or understanding frameworks that will be coming from here, from this particular slide onwards. So, rooted in the work of Skinner and Pavlov. The names you must have already heard, the Pavlovian experiment, the Skinner being one of the pioneers in behaviorism. These people are relatively the patrons of behaviorism. So, behaviorism emphasizes that observable behavior changes as indicators of learning. In organizational settings, this translates into clearly defined learning objectives, repetition and positive reinforcement. So, training simulations, the compliance modules and performance-based rewards are common examples where this approach is applied to reinforce desired behaviors. When you look into behaviorism, improvement on that, if I can use the word improvement, or a different perspective to that, came up with cognitivism. Cognitivism or cognitivist theory, inspired by people like Piaget and others, views learning as an internal process involving memory, attention and reasoning. So, you look into the L&D programs, you will see all the effects of memory. You will see the requirement of attention and also reasoning. So, when you are looking into cognitivism, L&D programs grounded in cognitivism focuses on content sequencing, scaffolding. Please go through the previous session to understand the scaffolding part, which I have categorically established and elaborated on. When you are looking into the cognitivism specifically, it focuses on the content sequencing, scaffolding and the use of analogies or metaphors to make the complex information digestible. So, this is what cognitivism makes us understand. Instructional designers, please note, may break down content into manageable chunks, use the visuals to enhance the retention and integrate case studies to actually support the application. So, this instructional designers can be understood as a typical example with respect to what we see in terms of cognitivism. Now, let us look into constructivism. Constructivism is a different approach. Constructivist theory posits that learners build their own understanding through active engagement. Their approach encourages reflective learning. Their approach encourages collaboration and adaptation to real life situations typically. Organizational applications include design thinking workshops, experiential learning modules and simulations that mirror workplace challenges, empowering learners to explore, to test and co-create knowledge. Now, let us look into one of the finest improvements in the entire learning theory, which is what we all do in bits and pieces, social learning. So, social learning theory, all the credit goes to Albert Bandura. So, basically we see Bandura's social learning theory emphasizes the importance of modeling, imitation and social reinforcement. So, it underpins many modern L&D practices. Let us say something like peer coaching. This we have right now as an L&D practice. We have mentorship, we have role play, communities of practice. All these have its root in social learning theory. The roots can be traced back to social learning theory. Employees are more likely to adopt behaviors they observe being rewarded or acknowledged in others. making modeling an essential aspect of leadership and culture binding. When you are looking into the social learning, it is all about how individuals are learning from their peer, how individuals are learning from their co-workers, from their employee. All these aspects are typically taken into consideration. So when you are looking into, let's say, social learning, please understand that there might be situations where you will see that your co-worker is working in a different platform. He is working with a different tool, maybe a new AI tool, or he'll be efficient with his workflow, or he'll be efficient with his, the day-to-day mundane routine activities. So, lot of learning possibilities are emerging in that particular scenario. So, social learning is directly correlated to what you are learning from your peer, what you are learning from your co-workers, from your boss, from your subordinates. All these aspects are typically ingrained in the social learning theories. Social learning theory is more about observation. It is about understanding people. It is about looking at them. Whatever best practices that we can imbibe, that we can take, we are taking it. This is typically the crux of the gist of social learning theory. So when you are looking into learning and development, I would say behaviorism is important, cognitivism is important, constructivism, but what is more relevant will be social learning theory. We look into others, we understand that, okay, I want to be a person like him or her. Maybe I want to have a technical know-how about the equipment I am working in a way that he or she is possessing. Or maybe I want to have expertise in dealing with people, in human resource management as my boss is doing. So these are all ambitions, these are all aspirations that make you or drive you to learn more. This acts as a trigger. This acts as a platform for further learning and development. So ladies and gentlemen, please note, when you're looking into the learning theories, these frameworks, these theoretical understandings actually play a big role in enhancing the learning and development environment within the organization. Now let's look into the organizational learning. What is organizational learning and how does it actually cater to the learning and development scenario altogether? You look into organizational learning theory, it goes beyond individual learning to examine how the entire organizations adapt and evolve. It involves systems thinking, it involves continuous improvement and feedback loops that transform lessons learned into institutional knowledge. So when you are looking into, typically, tools like after action reviews, learning audits and innovation labs, they support this systemic approach to development. Now let's quickly understand what is the typical from theory to practice approach when you are looking into the L&D practitioner's role. Based on a learning and development practitioner, what should we do when we want to actually have a practical understanding of learning and development? Bridging theory and practice is a core responsibility of L&D professionals. No doubt about it. They act as translators, they act as strategists. If you ask me, they act as facilitators of learning at every level of organization. So their work is multifaceted. We start with diagnosing the needs, identifying root causes of performance gaps using learning theory frameworks, designing solutions, developing learning experiences tailored to the cognitive and emotional needs of learners. Implementing programs using tools like, LMS platforms or blended learning models and on-the-job training to embed learning into daily routine, and measuring impact, applying models such as Kirkpatrick's 4 levels. Please look into our earlier discussions on Kirkpatrick 4 levels or other success case study methods to assess the effectiveness and ROI of learning interventions specifically. Now let's look into how to build a learning organization. Creating a learning organization is more than offering mere training. So sometimes people try to use training as a synonym to learning organization. It is not that. It's about fostering a culture of inquiry, adaptability and shared growth. I would like to repeat it: fostering a culture of inquiry, adaptability and shared growth. So, the key enablers here would be a leadership buy-in. Executives model and prioritize learning, embedding it into strategic initiatives. When you talk about the system and structures, tools like knowledge repositories, intranets and collaborative platforms make the learning accessible. You look into the cultural support, environments that reward curiosity, tolerate failure as a learning process and promote peer learning. And when you look into the strategic alignment, typically it ensures all learning initiatives directly supporting the organization's mission, values and goals. So, organizations such as Google, let's say Microsoft and IBM, they have demonstrated that robust learning cultures are directly linked to innovation, engagement and long-term success. Now to the practical version. In my introductory video also I mentioned that we would go in a more synchronous way where we look into the practical aspects, what the world of practice does in terms of learning and development. So how to move from theory to practice. I'll start with a case study, look into the Jakto Guangzhou's transformation into a learning organization. So to understand the background, please note that Jakto Guangzhou, a subsidiary of the Japanese automotive parts manufacturer Jakto Limited, operates in China's competitive manufacturing sector. So recognizing the need for continuous improvement and adaptability, the company embarked on a journey to become a learning organization, drawing inspiration from the Peterson's fifth discipline framework typically. So the challenges were cultural integration emerged as a big issue because as a Japanese enterprise operating in China, the organization faced challenges in blending Japanese management practices with local Chinese work culture. There was also employment development emerging as a culture. There was a need to enhance the skills and competencies of employees to meet the evolving industry demands. There were challenges with respect to knowledge sharing. The organization aimed to foster an environment where knowledge could be effectively shared across departments and hierarchies typically. When you look into the implementation part in the particular case, Peterson's 5 principles that were taken up were personal mastery. We have looked into this model in detail in the organizational behavior course in the NPTEL platform. But when you're looking into personal mastery, quickly I will let you know that we are looking into encouraging individual learning and self-improvement among employees through targeted training programs specifically. When you look into the mental models, it is all about facilitating workshops to help employees recognize and challenge their assumptions, promoting open-mindedness. So these are the typical workshops to actually increase the open-mindedness. We look into the shared vision, where you try to develop a unified organizational vision that aligns with both corporate goals and employee aspirations. Then you have team learning, where you look into implementing team-based projects and cross-functional collaborations and projects typically. Then finally, you have the systems thinking, where you encourage a holistic view of organizational processes to understand interdependencies and to improve the decision making process. So this holistic understanding of the process typically comes from systems thinking. That is why systems thinking is gaining importance these days. Now, before concluding, let's quickly look into the outcomes that the organization actually got. Needless to say, there was enhanced employee engagement. Now, employees became more proactive in seeking learning opportunities and contributing ideas. You had improved performance, improved productivity and quality. The organization witnessed measurable improvements in the productivity and quality. And we talk about the culture synergy. You see that it successfully integrated the Japanese and the Chinese work culture, leading to a very harmonious and efficient work environment. So, Jatko Gungsao's experience, typically, if you ask me, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, demonstrates the practical application of learning theories in transforming organizational culture and performance. So, by embracing the principles of a learning organization, the company not only addressed its immediate challenges, but also positioned itself for sustained growth and adaptability in a very, very dynamic industry. So, when you look into this particular case and today's discussion, you will be able to comprehend one thing, that there are certain typical theoretical foundations. There are certain typical theoretical building blocks that actually enable you to learn better. Let's say you are in an organization where you are not looking into a pool of individuals around you who are not interested in learning. You are just in that larger pool where people are just doing something on a mundane way, on a very routine way. You are not looking or getting the environment, a conducive environment where there is a spirit of healthy competition, there is a spirit of healthy developmental attitude, a growth mindset. Then you are going to suffer, because be it behaviorism, be it cognitivism, be it the constructivism, and be it the social learning, it all focuses on the environment typically. Behaviorism always says that there are cultural, there are factors which lays outside you, which actually triggers your behavior. You look into cognitivism, your memory, your mental ability to think and have a good thought process, that enables the learning. When you look into the social learning, it's all about how you observe your colleagues, how you observe your co-workers, how you observe the people around you, how they work and how they actually practice. In that particular scenario, let me tell you explicitly, these theoretical frameworks act as fundamental block in understanding of learning and development within an organization. Thank you for listening to me patiently. See you in the next class with more details on how to look into theory, from theory to practice in a more connected way with respect to learning and development. Thank you. Bye-bye.